You ever watch someone ruin a moment so pure that your brain almost refuses to accept it? I'm talking about the kind of moment parents try to save forever. Candles, glowing kids, laughing, everybody leaning in for that one happy memory. Yeah, that was the moment a woman decided to smash a little boy's birthday cake right in front of him. And the wild part is, she honestly believed she was the one doing the right thing. It happened on a warm Saturday afternoon at a small park pavilion in a neighborhood called Willow Glen Commons. Nothing fancy about the place, just a wooden shelter, a couple picnic tables, some grills nearby, the kind of community park where kids run around while adults talk about work and bills and life. You know what I mean, the kind of place that's supposed to feel safe. That afternoon belonged to a woman named Nia Brooks and her son Micah. Nia was 31, a respiratory therapist at a regional hospital, the kind of job where your shift never really ends when the clock says it does. She worked nights, sometimes double shifts when the hospital was short-staffed, and when she came home, she still had a little boy looking at her like she was the whole world. Being a single mom means you get used to carrying everything quietly. Bills, stress, exhaustion. All of it. But Nia had a goal she kept holding on to. She wanted Micah to grow up somewhere better than where she had. Somewhere with trees, sidewalks, neighbors who said hello. 2 years earlier, she finally managed it. A townhouse in Willow Glen Commons. Small place, nothing glamorous, but right next to a park. That park became Micah's favorite place. Playground, basketball court, grass, big enough to run in circles until you fall over laughing. So when his 8th birthday came around, Nia promised him a superhero party. Not some huge, expensive event, just family and a few kids from the neighborhood. Balloons, chips, juice boxes, a banner that said, "Happy Birthday, Micah." But there was one thing she really wanted to get right. The cake. A custom cake from a local bakery, blue frosting, a little superhero figure on top, the whole thing. It cost her about $140, which might not sound like much to some folks, but when you're working hospital shifts and budgeting every dollar, that's real money. That cake meant something. Before the party, she even called the town office to ask about the pavilion rules. They told her small gatherings could use it first, come first served unless someone reserved it. Simple enough. She saved the email just in case. Because when you're a black woman trying to do things the right way, sometimes proof matters. That Saturday morning, everything felt perfect. Nia and Micah got there early. The pavilion was empty. They taped the banner to the beams. Even though it hung a little crooked, laid out napkins and plates, set up the cake right in the middle of the table. Nia placed a small camera at the end so she could record Micah blowing out the candles. One little memory she could keep forever. Micah was buzzing with excitement, running back and forth between the playground and the table, asking every 5 minutes if it was time for cake yet. His cousin showed up, his aunt brought gifts, somebody started playing music from a Bluetooth speaker, and the whole thing just felt like joy. Real joy. The kind that doesn't happen enough. Then Cheryl Dawson saw them. Cheryl lived in the older part of Willow Glen, the section with bigger houses and manicured lawns. She had been there more than 10 years, which in her mind apparently meant she owned the place. You know that type of neighbor. Always watching, always judging, always convinced they're the unofficial manager of everything. She was walking her dog when she noticed the party, a black family under the pavilion, kids laughing, balloons tied to the posts. And instead of thinking, hey, looks like a birthday party, she thought something else. Who are these people? Cheryl kept walking past the pavilion, but she didn't forget what she saw. The irritation started growing. In her mind, the park belonged to people like her. Longtime residents, homeowners, the right kind of families. She convinced herself the party must be breaking some rule. Now here's the part that says everything about who she was. She had time to let it go. She had time to think about it and move on with her day. But she didn't. She went home, stewed on it, and decided she needed to fix the problem. By the time she came back, the party was right at the big moment. The candles were lit. Everyone was singing happy birthday. Micah was standing on the bench, leaning over the table, smiling like his whole world was about to happen. And right then, Cheryl stepped straight into the middle of it. Nia looked up first. "Excuse me." Cheryl didn't even pretend to be polite. "This pavilion is for residents," she said sharply. "You people can't just take over public spaces." The singing stopped. Kids froze. Nia blinked, confused. "Ma'am, we do live here." Cheryl shook her head like she had already decided that wasn't possible. "You didn't reserve this, so this little party needs to end." And before anyone could react, her hand shot forward. She pushed her palm right into the side of the cake. Frosting collapsed instantly. The top of the cake slid sideways, candles tipping over blue icing, smearing across the wood. Sprinkles scattered everywhere. Micah stared at it, stunned. Nia's voice cracked out before she could stop herself. "Did you just flip my son's birthday cake?" Cheryl looked down at the mess like she'd just corrected a mistake. Maybe next time you'll follow the rules. Now listen, any parent watching that would understand what Nia must have felt in that moment. Rage, shock. That instinct to protect your kid and defend the moment somebody just destroyed. But Nia knew something important. She knew that if she exploded, Cheryl would turn it around instantly. Suddenly, the story would become about an angry black woman causing trouble instead of a woman who had just ruined a child's birthday. So Nia forced herself to breathe. Her hands were shaking, but her voice stayed steady. She turned to her sister and said quietly, "Take Micah over there for a minute." Then she pulled out her phone and dialed 911. Cheryl actually laughed. "You're calling the police over a cake?" Nia looked her straight in the eye. "No, I'm calling because you destroyed my property and harassed my child, and you did it on camera." That made Cheryl pause. Camera. Nia pointed at the small family camera sitting on the table, red light still blinking. "Yeah, that happened." 10 minutes later, 2 patrol cars rolled into the park. The officer stepped out, took one look at the crying kid, the smashed cake, the crowd gathering nearby, and they knew something ugly had gone down. The male officer asked who called. "I did," Nia said. Cheryl jumped in immediately. "Good. These people are trespassing and becoming aggressive." Nia shook her head slowly. "She smashed my son's cake while we were singing." The officers separated them and listened to both sides. Cheryl tried to spin it, said the cake fell during an argument, said she was enforcing park rules. Then Nia said the words that changed everything. "I have the whole thing recorded." They watched the footage right there. No confusion, no accident. Just Cheryl walking up, reaching out, and deliberately destroying the cake. And the audio made it even worse. "You people, this neighborhood, go back to where you came from." The younger officer sighed and looked at Cheryl. "Ma'am, why would you do that?" Cheryl folded her arms. "Someone has to protect the neighborhood." The officer asked one simple question. "What rule exactly?" Cheryl didn't have an answer. Dispatch had already confirmed the pavilion policy. Small gatherings were allowed, no reservation needed. And Nia's address was right there in the neighborhood. So right under that pavilion, in front of the balloons and the ruined cake, Cheryl Dawson was placed in handcuffs. "You can't be serious," she snapped. The officer replied calmly, "We're not arresting you over a cake. We're arresting you for intentionally destroying someone else's property." Micah watched from the playground and whispered to his aunt, "Is she going to jail because she was mean?" His aunt squeezed his shoulder. "She's going because she did something wrong." Now that could have been the end of it, but it wasn't. That night Nia watched the footage again at her kitchen table. She thought about Micah's face, about those words Cheryl used, about how many times people like Cheryl get away with that behavior because nobody records it. So she posted the video online. She blurred the kids' faces and wrote a simple caption explaining what happened. Within hours, it started spreading. Local groups first, then city pages, then national outlets. Millions of people saw it. And Cheryl's life started falling apart. Her employer received emails with the video attached. She worked for a company that publicly claimed to value diversity and community respect. The footage made that awkward. Within days, she was fired. The criminal case came next. Cheryl pleaded guilty to misdemeanor property damage and disorderly conduct. Fines, probation, restitution. But Nia didn't stop there. She filed a civil lawsuit. The claim included emotional distress and racial harassment. The video was powerful evidence. Cheryl's lawyers eventually pushed for a settlement rather than risk losing in court. The amount was never officially released, but people close to the case said it reached well into the tens of thousands. Money didn't erase what happened, but it did send a message. And the story didn't end with punishment. A few months later, something amazing happened. Neighbors in Willow Glen organized a second birthday party for Micah at the same pavilion. Same place, same tables. But this time, the park was full. Kids, families, balloons everywhere, music playing, a giant cake even bigger than the first one. A magician showed up. Someone hired a balloon artist. Local businesses donated food. When Micah stood on that bench again and blew out the candles, dozens of people cheered like he'd just won a championship. Nia set up the camera again, because this time, the memory deserved to be recorded too. Now here's the part people still argue about. Some folks say Cheryl's life was destroyed over something small. Others say it was never about a cake at all. It was about entitlement. About someone deciding a black family didn't belong in a space they absolutely had every right to use. So what do you think? Was the fallout fair? Or did it go too far? And have you ever seen someone use rules as an excuse to control who belongs somewhere? Tell me your thoughts in the comments. I read them all. And if you've ever witnessed something like this in your own neighborhood, I want to hear that story too.